Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, here to break down some more news coming out of the Toronto Raptors team. The buyout news, the trade news continues to pile on over the past week. Obviously last week the Toronto Raptors made a trade for Marc Gasol. If you're not familiar with that deal, definitely check out one of our last few videos breaking down that trade. And following the trade, there's also some other moves that happened. We sent away Malachi Richardson to the Sixers, who eventually got waived. And we also sent out Moose, Greg Monroe, to the Brooklyn Nets. He was waived as well. So we were cut down. Our roster was cut down to 10 players. And over the weekend, we got news that the Toronto Raptors are going to sign Malcolm Miller and Ben McLemore to 10-day contracts. But after I've posted the video breaking down the trade, how the Raptors brought in a couple shooters and, gave my opinions and all that sort of stuff. But apparently that wasn't official. The Toronto Raptors couldn't officially make that move as they need to have at least 12 guys on the roster, I believe, in order to sign players to 10-day contracts. So they needed at least 12 full-time players in order to actually legally bring these guys in. So things have changed. Masai Ujiri has brought in 2 more full-time guys, and that includes Chris Boucher and Malcolm Miller have been signed to the Toronto Raptors on multi-year contracts. Now, there might be some confusion as to, Chris Boucher is already on the team, but Chris Boucher was signed to a 2-way deal, so technically he wasn't a full-time NBA player. He wasn't a full-time Toronto Raptor. He could only play a limited amount of games with the big squad and had to play half and half in the G League. I'm not sure the specific numbers, but regardless, Chris Boucher is finally officially a Toronto Raptor, officially signed to a full guaranteed deal, which is pretty exciting for him. We'll break down him as well. And Malcolm Miller, instead of signing a 10-day, he's signed to a multi-year contract as well. So this is big news, and before we break down the signings of these players, the Toronto Raptors still have 3 more open roster spots to sign people to 10-day contracts, see how they fit, and all these sorts of things, and it's up until March 1st. Today, as of recording, it's February 11th, so we got 3.5 weeks to really fill out the end of our roster, fill out the end of our bench. So don't necessarily expect Chris Boucher and Malcolm Miller to be the answers. They're both solid shooters. I'm excited with these pickups, but they might not necessarily be the guys we see playing in the playoffs, filling out the last rotation spots, because we don't have the most deep bench as we necessarily had coming into the season. Now we have Fred, Norm, and one of the big men, whether it be Marc Gasol or Serge Ibaka, as probable lock. Well, those 3 guys are certainly locks to be in the rotation for the rest of the season. Then you have guys like OG Anunoby, who would be a lock, but unfortunately he hasn't had the greatest year so far, so we don't know if he'll play too many minutes during the playoffs. And Patrick McCaw is certainly impressed in the low minimal minutes that he's gotten, but if he can start scoring the ball, I could certainly see him being a valuable rotation piece. So this doesn't necessarily guarantee that Chris Boucher and Malcolm Miller are going to be added into the rotation, but I certainly am happy with the moves. I already broke down Malcolm Miller in the 10-day contract video I made the weekend. I'm excited to bring in a shooter. Guys that can shoot the ball. Malcolm Miller is pretty solid on defense. In the G League, he's also shown some skills inside the arc, and he can rebound a little bit for his size. So shout out to Malcolm Miller. If you want a full breakdown on the Malcolm Miller pickup, certainly watch the video I made the weekend breaking down Malcolm Miller and Ben McLemore, as it was initially reported they were signing 10 days. But yeah, no, I'm happy with the Malcolm Miller sign. It's going to be interesting to see if he actually gets run. He started a few games for us last season, but the real big story and the real kind of heartwarming story, it comes from Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher getting a full-time NBA contract, which is really awesome to see. He's Canadian. He's from Montreal, where I'm currently living now. We pick him up to the Raptors Summer League team this offseason. He greatly impresses. He's blocking shots left and right. He shows an ability to shoot threes, and I remember over the summer. Now, I try to keep up on all the Summer League games and everything that's happening, but, you're not nearly as invested in the Summer League, at least I am not, than I am, the regular season games. I try and watch every regular season games. I don't really usually catch all of the Summer League ones, but you hear messages on Twitter, you see on Reddit, people were really excited about Chris Boucher in the Summer League. Now, obviously, you can't overreact to Summer League performances. It's not a true indicator of whether you're going to have success in the league. But it's certainly won over Raptors fans and the Raptors management, as they brought in Chris Boucher to join the big squad for NBA training camp and get some run during preseason to see if he can earn his spot. Now, I'm going to keep it real. Over the preseason, when I really got to see Chris Boucher play, he's a very thin guy. He's super small, slight of frame. I didn't really expect him to make the team. I didn't think he'd get a 2-way contract. I was more higher on Deng Adele, a couple other guys that we had signed during the preseason. We had at the end of our roster, because obviously you can have much more players during the preseason than you can in than the regular season. But nonetheless, Chris Boucher got the last two-way contract, him and Jordan Lloyd. Now, I was pretty hyped because, obviously it's always great to have Canadians on the roster, but I didn't really see him having too much success. And you can listen to earlier pods where I kind of thought it made more sense to bring in Dengadel. He was the big guy that I personally thought could be a good fit out of those preseason players. But regardless, Chris Boucher got on in there, and he never really got his opportunities till midway through this season. But when he did, he was always ready to go. He's super confident. He's always confident in that three-point shot. He comes into the games ready to splash down those threes. Usually these guys that are on the bench most of the game, they're not warmed up. They come in, they're trying to prove themselves and all that. There's a lot of pressure. I find it hard to judge players when they in these garbage time minutes, but Chris Boucher, regardless of all that, says enough with all that. I got to impress in these minutes I show, and he does it. I think every time he came into the game for a solid month, maybe 2 months there, he always made a three, whether it be one or two tries, which is super impressive, especially with the way the Toronto Raptors have been struggling from the three-point line this season. He comes out there and he plays very hard on defense. Despite his slight frame, he gets a lot of blocks. His positioning's pretty good. He can get rebounds. Obviously, he gets pushed around a little bit, but it's not nearly as bad as I expected. His length very much makes up for what he lacks in weight, which is super cool. It's super cool, and I think his more traditional position would be the power forward, so he doesn't have to deal with big guys. Because imagine him and like Marc Gasol or something going at it. That wouldn't be a good look. But regardless, Chris Boucher's come in, and when he's gotten opportunities to play within the actual rotation in non-garbage minutes, he's also looked pretty good. I'm not going to say he looked overwhelming and looks like a surefire NBA All-Star or something at that point, but he looks like a guy that can play in the league. And that's certainly something you want out of your 12th, 13th, 14th guy. Now, he's not necessarily very young, but he picked up basketball at a very late age, so he's still improving, he's still gaining those skills. His story's certainly phenomenal. You should definitely check it out. There's thousands of articles written on him, but he kind of lucked into playing basketball, and finally, at age 25, he got his first shot in the NBA with the Warriors last season, won a ring. Certainly he's going to win another one this season, but never really got much run, and now he's getting his opportunity. I'm excited, especially for a Montreal kid. It's really exciting to see, and hopefully he can actually produce, because he signed this full-time contract now. I'm sure the Raptors, maybe not necessarily in the playoffs, but expect him to get some meaningful minutes during the regular season to see what he can do. If he can impress, maybe creep into the playoff rotation, but obviously we've dealt with so many injuries this year. Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol are a bit injury prone, so I'm sure they're going to want to rest a couple games. We don't have another big man. Pascal Siakam was the game we didn't have Marc Gasol. Pascal Siakam ran most of the game at center, which is kind of wild considering his size and height and all those sorts of things. So Chris Boucher could possibly be a center for a game or two when we're resting Marc Gasol or Serge Ibaka. But I think his best shot is coming into that backup power forward position. Currently, we're running Patrick McCaw and OG Anunoby kind of as a mix of 3 and 4s. They're both natural 3-position players. They're both natural small forwards. They're a bit undersized for the power forward position, even in today's positionless basketball. They're not great rebounders, but great on-ball defenders. So we really need a guy that can back up Pascal Siakam. And I think that's the ceiling for Chris Boucher this season. If he can come in, play good defense, not get completely bullied when he's on the floor, and consistently knock down 3-point shots, I think it's very possible for him to come into the rotation. But that's the best case scenario. That's kind of like the peak Chris Boucher, in my opinion, this season. But at the very least, we're going to see him play certainly some meaningful minutes, and he's shown that he's capable. He's a capable NBA guy in the past games he's played in. And hopefully he's serviceable enough to the point where if we want to rest Pascal Siakam for half a quarter, or we actually want to take one of our big men out for a game so they're not completely worn up by the time the playoffs come, I think he can definitely provide some value there. And the Toronto Raptors, I mentioned on the last podcast, need 3-point shooting. So if he can come in and be a sniper, be a consistent above maybe 38% from the 3-point line, he might be able to have a sneaky impact for this team. But regardless, let me know what you guys think. We're going to keep you up to date on all the buyout information, all the players that the Toronto Raptors could possibly get. We still have 3 more roster spots to get, and I'm sure that Ben McLemore will eventually come get signed to a 10-day because we expressed the intention to do it, and he expressed interest. So I'm sure we'll see the official 10-day contract signed from Ben McLemore in the next couple days. And there's lots more guys out there. I know a lot of people in the last video mentioned Nick Stauskas should be a name that the Toronto Raptors should go after. Unfortunately, he was just signed to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He would have been another Canadian guy, which would have been cool to see if his three-point shot could translate it. But he signed with the Cavs. Maybe he'll get bought out again. He's been all over the league this season. I mentioned throughout the video how Chris Boucher, the Raptors need a backup power forward and to be successful. I don't really see OG and McCaw being naturally best suited for that position. And Markieff Morris is a guy that I know I'd love. I know a lot of Raptors fans would love, but unfortunately he's dealing with a neck injury right now. There's some conflicting reports on the severity of it. Some people are saying that, there's reports in January that he'd be back mid-February, and now they're saying that he's getting a second look. Apparently it's a rare condition that he's experiencing, so hopefully he comes back healthy, and if he does, maybe the Raptors could sign him because I think he'd be a great fit off our bench. And another guy, keep listing off guys. We read through the comment section. We love hearing your guys' insights. Jeremy Lin is a player that a lot of people are interested in. Unfortunately, I don't think we will be able to get Jeremy Lin. He's looking for a team where he can compete and also be in a starting position. So I don't know if we can necessarily guarantee him a full role with this team, more so than he's getting in Atlanta. Now, there isn't many other rosters out there that I think can guarantee that, so maybe he'll settle on going to a contender. But Jeremy Lin's looking to get paid this offseason. He's a very talented guy. He's had a very strong season for Atlanta as well. Just they're tanking. They don't want to play him too much, and he wants his opportunity to show what he's got. The Toronto Raptors might not necessarily be able to offer him the biggest opportunity, but if he can't find a perfect suitor, maybe he'll settle for a championship caliber team and being an integral part of that. So Jeremy Lin would be a very interesting pickup. Let me know what you guys think. We love hearing from you in the comment section below. Are you happy with signing these two guys to multi-year contracts? Who are you interested in getting in the buyout market? Let me know in the comment section. You're the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. The Toronto Raptors play the Brooklyn Nets tonight. It's going to be exciting. I love watching Marc Gasol play on this team. I'm rejuvenated as a Raptors fan. The mid-season, we've all been told how the playoffs are the only thing that's important. So it's kind of been a bit of a lull the past, I think, month of Raptors basketball. But I think with this trade, everything that's happening, we're inching closer to the playoffs. The excitement is back, at least in my opinion. The top of the East looks crazy. Philadelphia improved, Milwaukee improved, Boston looked very good before the trade deadline. Now they all hate each other again, which is super exciting as a Raptors fan. Regardless, it's going to be very fun. Enough of me rambling. On signing off. Cheers.